Hello, we have a bonus video with my links and info are below. The rippaverse is here, and Twitter hates it. Comic books, Reddit, r/comics has banned it on Reddit, even mentioning it, not just talking about actually just using the name. It's been banned, and just watching the sheer level of words I won't say on here, it's an ism, is just funny. And watching this play out, I'm watching these people get really upset over something, over a person, over the black guy doing something successful. It's so strange to witness. Just because they don't agree with someone, they want to destroy it, and it's funny. Here are some Twitter hot takes, good, bad, and the ugly. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and let's start the show. Hello, Dr. Murder, MD, Canadian flag, BLM. Seeing Eric's July's Rippaverse comic getting $1.6 million from CG, which is Comicsgate, Basement Nazi, must be incredibly deflating to diverse and talented creators who won't compromise their integrity by swimming in the alt-right sewer to make a quick buck. Then he made me laugh even more when he put, "Oh, let me just make one thing perfectly clear." Bad Simpsons meme. All art is political. No, it's not. That, as someone with an art degree, no. Art can exist for many reasons, politically, ideology, and so on, but art can purely exist for the sake of its being. Art is not always political. Painting, art can be a reaction, a painting can be a reaction, a photograph can be a reaction, but sometimes art can literally just be about the beauty. And Aaron chimed in, and I love this guy, by the way, he's a regular of mine, and even if it is political, it doesn't have to be this or ideological, which is true. And I think that's the disconnect here. Not everything has to be a statement, and people confuse politics with ideology. It's funny, but there's also just this subtle aroma of jealousy around these comments, which just makes me laugh. It's funny. It's just funny. And what I'm going to add to this is, like I said, art is not always political. Art exists purely for existing sometimes. It's the nature of art. It's a whole field of study within art. And the disconnect here is that people want to force their ideology on you using art. And you are really off base with this comment. It's funny, but maybe you need to take a refresher course. So this was a weird one. It makes me extremely uncomfortable, and I don't like the phrasing here, but I'm going to read it out as verbatim. He's a modern-day Uncle Tom for Comicsgate. He should not be supported in any way, shape, or form. Okay. You really... Dear God, these people don't know what Google is. People don't know what Google is. I'm sorry, but why is it okay to call a man of colour black man? That, or the N-word, I've seen a lot worse. Why is it okay just because you don't agree with them? This is what I don't understand. You might not agree with someone, but to resort to name-calling and ist language, this is the thing. Maybe have an intelligent discussion rather than shouting into the void. Pathetic child. Oh, this one's a doozy. Just looked up this Rippaverse comic stuff, and it looks... But I think he meant it looks good, but I'm kind of confused. It's anti-woke, but the lead is a black man. I don't really see how it's different from woke comics. You can have a character of colour... My IQ dropped reading that, by the way. You can have a character of colour in a comic book without it being the focus of the comic book. You can have a gay character, a black character, a Hispanic character, a blue character, a lesbian. You can have them all without that actually being it. It's just the part of the character. This person is an idiot. I'm sorry. And I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I don't care. These hot takes, probably a Gen Zer, these hot takes are kind of embarrassing, and watching this fall out is kind of embarrassing. I feel embarrassed for you. Now, this one is a doozy. This whole thread was hilarious. I'll read the first one, but I'm only going to read out highlights of the whole thread because we'll be here a week. Behold, the complete, original, and not at all stolen plot of the first comic in Eric D. July's rippaverse. Rippaverse. The story is about a character who pronounced Isom. I can't even read this. Like, this just makes my brain hurt. And what's funny is he's pointing out these tropes and similar names. This is what I find funny. Like, does this guy even read comic books at this point? This is common tropes. This is the common tropes of superhero comics. There's nothing wrong with this. You can use tropes. It's not ripping anyone off. These tropes have existed for over 100 years at this point in terms of comics, but have existed for far longer in terms of literature. I mean, you're just angry. You're seriously just angry. And it's funny, because why don't you make your own comic book? I dare you. Get rid of the avatar, put your real face on this bloody thing, and make your own comic book. I dare you. Oh, this one is true. This one is true. There's 2 tweets here. And I'm going to read them out bottom to top. Eric July holds similar views to GG Gators. So the eye of SJWs, he is apparently part of the hate group that is somehow oppressing him while he is making comics for it. And then someone replied, hereby showing that SJWs don't actually care about marginalised people. They only care about controlling them and using them against those they hate. When someone of them doesn't allow that, their racism is out of all this world to see. SJW's the true racist. And now I'm going to say something controversial again. I've seen more racism and homophobia from the far left than any other group. Especially in recent years. Yes, there are people on the other side, and that's a whole different discussion. But right now, the most vocal racism, homophobia, and all of this stuff comes from these people that are talking over people and thinking, you are so oppressed, I must pet you on the head until you're a good boy. It's ridiculous. I find this kind of behaviour repugnant on many levels. Now, this was an interesting tweet. The whole thing was fascinating, and I love the fact they cited the Wikipedia article here. A black Comicsgate creator is crowdfunding a 7-figure comic with black characters, and people on the extreme left are upset because it's challenging the narrative that Comicsgate is a hate group. No, it's a group that campaigned for creative freedom. It's also very much alive at Wikipedia. Comicsgate was a right-wing campaign opposed to diversity and progression. No, it wasn't. It was about creative freedom, and I wish people would learn that. Like, there are so many ways you can go, but unless you follow the narrative, you might as well not speak in this matter. It's funny to see them so upset over this. In the 60 seconds it took to type and send that tweet, you could have just briefly explained the Rippaverse is a shitty overpriced right-wing comic book. No. Okay, so the price, it's $35 for the first issue. The thing about that price for an indie comic, I have paid more for standard issue graphic novels, and with about the same amount of pages. I have paid more for those in some cases, and for indie comics, that's a really good price. Like, this is the thing, you have to get back the money you put in and you have to make a profit. It's simple. These large corporations don't care, and they just want your money, so they'll put out a ton of cheap crap because more people will buy it. You, still waiting for Rogue One 2, are an attention-seeking twat waffle. And this is what we call the reach of the century. Who is mad that you started a company? They're noting that it took becoming a see we have a black friend shell for the comics version of the Proud Boys to do it. You push their BS narrative. Like a good boy, they paid a premium for your services and you bent right over. Ooh, lovely, isn't it? This is a reach. Like, again, just because someone... Actually, I'm going to rephrase that. Just because someone, the far left, even if someone is slightly left of centre, you're outside of that circle. So they will use certain words and phrases and things that lose power because of this. People like this have destroyed the power of words at this point. And even if they are just right of centre, they're still problematic, and I hate that word, because they don't fit into this far left narrative. And it's so funny to see this whole sort of group eating themselves who think hashtags and things are protesting. It's funny. There's a lot I want to say on this one, and there's a lot of comparisons to what they just said, but I'm not going to go into that because I will get banned by YouTube. And finally, let's laugh my head off. Let's end on a positive note. This is a good comment. Thank you, Rippaverse, or when Le Meow, French cat, Le Meow,